the fact that in the upper reaches of the Pir Panjal there are now terror hideouts, there have been attacks. So it's not as if this Naya Kashmir is entirely peaceful. Terror attacks continue. They happened in the past, they're happening even now.
Rahul, I said earlier also that no disputes over it, no double opinion over it, that the security scenario in Jammu and Kashmir has considerably improved. But if we are not saying that we have created it as a terrorism-free Jammu and Kashmir. So everybody, the people and particularly tourists who upload their selfies from Polo Market of Kashmir at 11 or at 12 at the dead of the night, this itself speaks of the improved security scenario. My very respectful summation with regard to these political parties whose narrative, whose viewpoint, whose political approach, whose political outreach has absolutely been rejected by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Dens of
no, but if things are as well as you're suggesting, no, but Mr. Patania, if things are as good as you're suggesting, why have we not had elections in Jammu and Kashmir so far?
Absolutely, sir. I'm coming to it. After 5th of 2019, there was a allegation in Jammu and Kashmir that gerrymandering on political basis was being done. Jammu, having bigger areas and bigger populations, was denied of the political justice. After 5th of August 2019, there was a delimitation commission which was set up in Jammu and Kashmir. It virtually took 3 or 4 years this commission to complete its stupendous task. Ultimately, this report was ultimately accepted by the Bharat Sarkar, by the Parliament of India, and thereafter a very, very detailed voter revision. And now the Bharat Sarkar has virtually sworn before the Honorable Supreme Court, and the Honorable Supreme Court has also deposed. So this is not like that between...
So if they've committed that there will be elections before September, and the government says we'll stick to that commitment, and it's only now a few months away.
Yes, the government was trying very hard to run away from elections, as they have been doing for past 5 years. And it happened to be the Supreme Court that forced the government to conduct an election. And
we deposed before the Supreme Court. Sorry, please put the facts straight, madam.
Okay, let us speak. Mr. Patania, let it speak,
Supreme Court of India that it was the Supreme Court of India that forced this government to conduct an election and say that yes, you will conduct an election. And yet at this point, we do not know whether this government will still continue to run away from elections or not. Ranveer Patania makes another point. He says National Conference has been rejected by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Ranveer Sahab, it is not National Conference running away from elections. We know who it is. In the recent Ladakh elections that took place, National Conference and our allies, we won 23 out of 26 seats in the Kargil Autonomous Hill Council. In the Kargil Autonomous Hill Council, we won 23 out of 26 seats. You won 3 seats. So please, we know who
earlier we had one.
Okay, Shaila Rashid, how do you respond to the opposition saying that this is very cosmetic? The development is upar se, because ultimately if you want to make change from within, you have to win the hearts and minds of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Yes. That this is all public infrastructure, Shaila Rashid, that's being developed, which is all well and good, but you aren't going through with the political process to win the hearts and minds of the Kashmiris.
So I want to move away from the political debate because thankfully I'm not a member of any political party yet. So what I want to say here is that today's visit, the Prime Minister's visit today, this is beyond politics. This is beyond elections. This is beyond everything. This is about the nation and this is about security. I completely agree with Ifra, where she has pointed out that there is terrorism in Pir Panjal. There is terrorism in areas where there was no. So we have a mischievous neighbor in our vicinity who is hell-bent on creating problems. So I'm sure that the state is looking at considerations like that. The state has its security and strategic, complications and all of that. And I'm sure that, the one thing that I know is that the Prime Minister, through his guarantee, this Modi ki guarantee that we talk about, this is beyond party lines. This is beyond everything. This is a confidence that if the Prime Minister has said that he will ensure peace, if the Prime Minister has said that he will resolve the existing problems, then he will do it. Because we have a person who is, selflessly thinking about the nation.
Okay, Shaila, I'm very curious. When people watch you say the kind of things that you're doing, they'll wonder what happened here. You have, from the time Prime Minister Modi came to power and even before, been one of the most trenchant critics of the administration in Delhi. And now you seem to be singing a very different tune.
No running away from that, Rahul. I have never tried to whitewash any of my criticisms of the government. So my criticisms were along the lines of, human rights, right? And what you see today is respect for law and order, which has allowed people to, to have a clear clarity on what to do, what not to do. So if there is fear of law, and if the youth, because of that, are not going to ISIS, if they are not running towards terrorism, if they are not taking up arms or pelting stones, so probably we needed that kind of a clarity. I mean, we have been, 75 years into our independence, and a short period of 5 or 4 years, within a short period of 4 years, the government has taken various strategic measures. It has downgraded J&K into a UT. It has not conducted elections. Fine, that is all of that is fine. But at the same time, we also need to look at, what are the, I mean, in 2023, it was the first time that the full academic calendar in Jammu and Kashmir was followed. अब आप मुझे बताओ, मुझे इलेक्शन, ठीक है, इलेक्शन भी हो जाएगा, लेकिन पहले आप ये देखिए ना, मतलब फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम जब यहाँ पे इलेक्शन होते थे, सेपरेटिस्ट लोग हमेशा कॉल देते थे बॉयकॉट का, एंड दे यूज्ड टू बी श्रीनगर का. अगर आप श्रीनगर लोकसभा कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी का देखेंगे और उसके अंदर जो विधानसभा सेगमेंट्स आते हैं, उसमें जो वोटिंग है वो 20% होती थी. तो जब हम इलेक्शन बोलते हैं, we also have to think about deepening of democracy. And what has the government done for deepening of democracy? You see for the first time that BDC polls were held. You see for the first time that panchayat members are not being targeted. तो मुझे बताइए, डेमोक्रेसी क्या सिर्फ दो परिवार के लिए है, या डेमोक्रेसी जो है वो जो 30,000 रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं, जो समझ लीजिए 12-15 हजार फैमिलीज को रिप्रेजेंट करते होंगे, क्या वो डीपनिंग ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है?
You spoke of the fear of law. Your critic, Shaila, frankly, who are watching at this time will say Shaila fears the law, that the government's got something on her which has got her scared, which is why she's done this somersault. That you're fearing something, that they've got you on something. How do you respond to that?
For the longest time,
can I come in now, Rahul?
There was a perception for the longest time that, India is a soft state. I mean, you've seen, for example, you've seen what Hamas did in Israel and how Israel responded, right? They pulverized Gaza. There have been more than 30,000 civilians have been killed. The international community is not backing, and I let that's a hard state, right? How did it respond to the Pulwama attack, right? For the longest time, like, India has been perceived as like a soft state, but however now India is showing clarity. We are not warming up to Pakistan. We are not tolerating incursions from Pakistan. We are not tolerating threats against.
This is very unfair, You're just not allowing the other panelists to speak, Rahul.
Let us speak.
And we are not tolerating separatism. That has given the youth of the valley. So all of us, even when we were in politics, we were, towing this kind of soft separatist line, which had been made fashionable by TV at that time, right? But the government has shown clarity, and because of clarity, if people are respecting the law of the land, what's wrong in that?
Okay, so let Ifra respond to what she's hearing from you. And many of the supporters of Prime Minister Modi and the BJP who are watching at this time, Ifra will say, अगर शहला को समझ में आ गया तो सबको समझ में आ जाएगा, आप ही को समझ में नहीं आ रहा. Look at how Kashmir has changed. She's talking about fear of law, she's talking about reduced violence. She's saying Kashmir can't be the monopoly of two families, it can't be a duopoly.
You really don't need to repeat all of that to me. I was here in the debate, hearing every bit of it. I just hope that I get as much time as my learned counterpart got, and you will not cut me short. That is all I expect from you. Number one, my dear friend talked about sarpanches, and she said how sarpanches are not being targeted. Except there are no sarpanches present in Jammu and Kashmir. Their mandate and their term got over last year, and this government has refused to conduct even a sarpanch election. कोई सरपंच ही नहीं है जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में, वो इलेक्शंस भी सस्पेंड हो गए हैं. She talked about the municipality council election. Municipality council की भी term खत्म हो गई last year. There is no municipality council. So there is no grassroots democracy whatsoever, which is not to say that grassroots democracy in any way can replace the assembly elections at any time. So forget assembly elections. You have no sarpanches, you have no corporators, you have no municipal elections.